Welcome to the HabitStack Podcast, where we talk to fellow founders who are in the thick of things as they execute their plans to grow their business. Because stories about past successes are interesting, but hearing from people who are in the middle of the battle right now, that's invaluable. I'm Scott Ward, founder of HabitStack. I'm here today with Dr. Sheila Brooks, who is the founder, president, and CEO of SRB Communications. Sheila, it's really good to be here with you today. I appreciate you coming on the show.
And thank you so much for the invitation. I'm delighted to have this dialogue.
You know, I have a bunch of questions for you, obviously, but I'm always curious to hear, well, maybe just give me a brief overview of who in this world is Dr. Sheila Brooks? What are you up to? What's your company about? And I'll ask you further, deeper questions later on, but just kind of give us the overview for now.
Well, Dr. Sheila Brooks is a visionary leader, a strategist. I was trained as a television journalist for 13 years. I'm a business owner of 35 years. And what I call myself over the years is the Rainmaker and the closer. That's my job. I'm not a consultant, and I respect consultants. I have always been the business owner who's had an average of 14 employees, full-time employees over the years. Just celebrated 35 years in business.
I saw that on LinkedIn. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you so much. Offices in downtown Washington, 2 blocks from the White House, and it's a different place right now. Yeah. But I tend to be the focused, goal-oriented, driven leader with passion and focus, which I've always have felt is really essential to success. Mm. I am the first in my family to go to college and came from a very disadvantaged background, single divorced mother who raised us to have a very good education.
Yeah, you didn't just go to college.
No,
you went to college.
I went to college. I didn't just go, but I was, in the 70s, late 70s, I was the first to graduate from college. And families have had folks in their families graduate over the years.
Right.
That's not where we came from. Mm-hmm. So my mother always instilled in us that work ethic, faith-based foundation, and a strong education could get us anywhere. Mm. So that's who I am, and in growing this business over the years, I wanted to make sure that I was in control of my own destiny. Mm. That I used my journalism skills that I learned as a television newscaster and reporter to pour it into a business that could be certainly engaging, storytelling, community-based storytelling to communities.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Can I ask you, was there something that clarified for you, you know what, I want to be in control of my own destiny and start my own thing? Or was it kind of like you just couldn't help it? Or both?
I do think that I would have to say, Scott, it was both, because as I said, I grew up in a very low income, poor neighborhood. And everybody we grew up with I grew up in the 60s, in the height of the civil rights movement. Mm. And so everybody around me in our neighborhoods were, they had to have worked 2 and 3 jobs, make ends meet.
Right.
If you wanted to stay off of welfare, yeah, just take care of your family. And my mother worked 2 jobs, full-time jobs, all her life.
Wow.
So, and I've seen all of those people around me that they had 2 and 3 jobs. They had small businesses. There was the auto mechanic guy that had the little auto shop on the corner, or there was the little grocery store on the opposite corner, or the candy store, or whatever that other skill they had besides the job. And that inspired me. I could say that definitely inspired me to want to get out of those conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years of getting educated, getting a journalism background, going to journalism school, and getting into my career, I realized being in control of your own destiny, particularly in a field of media. I realized, I think, early on in those 13 years, the reason I left to start my own business, that I was destined to do what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm. So you've been doing, and you've been doing that for 35 years. And I'm
Yes.
curious, you said something about goals, and your goals, you know, I'm guessing have changed, grown, morphed over the years. There's one kind of milestone and you hit it and I'm like, okay, that's exciting. And what's the next thing, and et cetera. What are your goals right now? What are you working on?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned all of that, Scott, because the goals right now certainly is to turn business around. We all know that this has been a challenging year for small business.
Been pretty tricky,
Been one of the toughest years I've ever had in business. Headwinds are real. Challenges are constant. There are moments where fighting forward can just feel real heavy. And so this year has tested so many of us in small business. It's tested our strength, but what we have to do is we have to keep moving forward and leading with purpose. I feel in tough times, that's what inspires me to keep going. There's just been so many seismic shifts in what we do. Now, that's not to say that hasn't happened before. 1995 shutdown, we were in business, turned it around. 2001, 9/11. 15 months later, we turned it around. But it goes to what your question is. We have to pivot. When you talk about goals, you have to talk about in business, you have to pivot. So during those tough, challenging times, you have to pivot. We did it in 2001. Then what happens? 2008, the recession. So for 18 years, we were a production company. That's all we did. I built it from 350 square foot to a 6,000 foot facility of where we bought equipment, and we look like a full television station and studio. And we did all that with federal government dollars, loans, because we were doing a lot of business with the federal government. So
Right.
that was goals, but we had to pivot. And in 2008, with that recession, here we go again. And made those goals to build this production company over 18 years. And what happens? There's a recession.
Yeah.
And
What did you pivot to? What did you,
changes.
out of curiosity, what did you pivot to then?
We pivot to expanding into where we are now, marketing, advertising, and PR, because production was 100% of what we did for 18 years.
Right.
Producing documentaries, videos for the federal government, training videos, educational videos, informational videos for the military, working for many of my former employers, America's Most Wanted, TV One and Discovery Channel and BET were in Washington, D.C. Those didn't exist anymore after 2008 to 10 or 11, because what happened? The world changed. Not the recession hurt us in a way, but it was growth, because guess what? Digital and social media became real. And that growth was there. So we saw that goal that I had then was, I got to turn this around. I could no longer be a 100% video production. Production just has to be a part of a larger campaign, a larger marketing campaign, a larger advertising campaign. And that goal then became to be a full service marketing, advertising, PR firm where we create and we execute public education and brand awareness campaigns.
So I always love these stories, right? Because as the Rainmaker, That's sorry, what was the second thing you said? You're the Rainmaker and
I'm the Rainmaker and the closer.
the closer, right? Yes.
Right. Yes, sir.
What did in concrete terms, what did you do in order to make that pivot? How did you lead? Because you didn't have marketing clients, right? You were.
Oh, I did
So
not.
how'd you get them?
Well, I had clients though. That
Yes.
was the beauty. I had clients. So then you have to educate your clients to what your new capabilities are or your expanded capabilities
Right.
are. The good news was I had one client, a utility client, a local utility client, where we were doing some marketing, but it wasn't the full campaign. We were only doing this media buying piece that I said, wait a minute, that was the only marketing contract we had. I said, I need to look at that
Right.
and expand that because I can get bigger pieces. It's not just media buying and not just production, but what I can do is I can look at being the strategist because I am. I know everything about communications and I need to learn more. And we could look at creating more content and creative development, and I can look at measurements and data and analytics and all of the elements that go into a full service campaign. And that's exactly what we did. We wanted to be able to raise awareness, to influence perceptions and behaviors to targeted audiences and communities. And that was expanding and growing the vision. But I didn't know how to do that part. So one, I have to hire the best people. But two, which really should be one, is I had to get more educated on the marketing and advertising.
Right.
And I went back to school and got a PhD and sat in the classroom for 6 years.
Oh, that's when you went back.
That's when I went back. And I sat in that classroom from 2009 to 2014 with all those brilliant young people at Howard University who knew digital, who knew social, who knew marketing. I learned market research. I learned how to facilitate and handle focus groups. And I did that all at night while I was still running my business.
Right. Right. And you had a model, that kind of your experience when you're young, seeing the people, your mom and the people around you holding two jobs. It was kind of like, well, yeah, I know I can do this. The people
I know I could do this. And I knew I had to turn it around. And we did. And we took that one utility client, that one marketing media buying contract. And what I said is, well, if I have this utility, I can go to the next utility,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And from 2008 to about 2015, for the next 7, 8 years, we start prospecting every utility. And now we are in every utility on the East Coast,
Is that right?
in the Mid-Atlantic region, except for in New York and the state of Pennsylvania. So we have all the gas, electric, water companies in Washington, D.C. We've been to work with them since 2004. And then in 2009, 12, the other ones came along. And then and then we just went up the Eastern Seaboard. But what made it even better is one major company, the largest utility company, energy company in the country, came and bought up the local utility electric company here, the local electric company in Baltimore and southern New Jersey and all of Delaware. And that allowed us to grow. And we grew with them.
So, when I go to your website, it doesn't say we're marketing and advertising for utility companies.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't.
It shows you the work.
That's true. That's true. But it's not niched explicitly like on the landing page or on the homepage. Is that something that you considered and decided not to do, or what's
Well, you go to our work. I mean, because we're in several different verticals. We're not only in energy and utilities, we're in higher ed, as well as K through 12 education, federal government, state government, convention centers and sports arenas, public health, television, and radio. So we had to, I had to diversify. I learned diversification.
Right.
Okay. When I went through that 2008 recession.
Right, because it
Everything had
wasn't
been
just the
right,
fact that you were focused on production, was that your
right,
customers were focused.
right. We had to get more customer focused. Absolutely.
Mm.
Very important.
Yeah, that diversification. I think it kind of goes back to something I was thinking about earlier in what you were saying, is that, or the controlling your own destiny. In many ways, so I've been you know, running HabitStack as my own thing for 16 years, I guess. And I think it's been more stable than my friends and colleagues who are employees,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's a way in which I'm more diversified, right? They
Yes.
have one employer, I have many employers in the form of
Right.
my clients, but it's kind of not true that it's, anyway, I feel like it's less risky, to be honest,
Mhm.
to be, like you said, in control of my own destiny and running my own thing.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, and that's why I respect everyone who's in business. There are some people who want to have the brick and mortar and the employees and not so much want it. It's where you want to do business. I knew I did want to do business with larger companies and to grow to get to that point. What I also knew is I had to have those what you want to, not just the capabilities, but the resume, the criteria, the background. You have to invest back in the community. That's the bottom line. When you're doing business with big utility companies, major corporations, large government agencies, they want excellence. And yes, you could still be a consultant for them, but if you want to do the larger kind of business that we wanted to do, what we were expanding to, I learned that I had to definitely meet that kind of criteria in order to navigate the procurement process.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Sheila, outside of our this before this call, you mentioned to me that there was you have had some recent tragedies in your immediate sphere,
Yep.
and if it's okay, I'd like to ask you about that and how one of the things that we're just a single person. So, we're united. We're a whole person, and so our personal life impacts our ability to lead, or even augments our ability to lead. But when things are when there's a lot going on, it can take some special focus or strategies to continue to lead well and authentically. Anyway, I just wanted to I'd be curious to hear anything that you're willing to share about what's going on for you personally and how you're leading at the same time with your company.
That's such a good question, Scott. I mentioned to you earlier that my mom instilled three things in her two daughters: good educational foundation, a good faith-based foundation,
Mm.
as well as a good work ethic foundation. My unshakable faith keeps me going, even in times of tragedy. And it has been a tough few weeks for me, 5 or 6 weeks, when you're challenged not only with the economy and all of what's going on and trying to turn the business around and keep contracts going and employees happy, but at the same time, you need to be there for your family. And I think that what I have learned over the years is that determination, perseverance, and my faith. I always feel like there's a higher power leading my journey. And I believe And when you do that, for me, I'm a better person, and there is nothing that I can't do.
Mm.
But I just keep pressing.
Mm. You mentioned your mom. Was it your mom that you lost?
Oh no, it
Oh,
was all three are cousins, but one was a 21-year-old cousin lost to a drunk driver
uh,
who left a 3-year-old.
oh,
Okay, and that's a tough going. The other couple were cousins, first cousins.
yeah.
And then my husband's best friend, who was like a family member, very well renowned journalist in this country. They're still celebrating him in Philadelphia, a
Mm.
lead editor of a major national newspaper, died unexpectedly.
Mm.
And people we travel with on vacation.
Right.
We just have to kind of gather around and rally each other and say, hey, as long as we're here for each other, there's nothing we can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a tough few weeks.
Yeah. It sounds like it's been brutal.
Yeah. Because we have to realize challenges and tough times and sympathy and difficult times, navigating in different seasons, uncertainty in our personal and professional lives. It kind of gives us this divine redirection. And that's what I believe is happening for me. And I continue to be resilient, to confront myself with those challenges and to just keep moving because it's at times like that when you're in the wilderness.
Mm.
And being in the wilderness teaches you that you have to be more patient because you're tested. You have to grab onto something. For me, it's my and when you do all of that, you can emerge stronger than ever. And I believe that. And and I see it also happening right now in business as well.
Thank you for sharing that. I know there's a lot there. And it does remind me, I have these experiences sometimes where I'm working with a team and somebody on the team is maybe diagnosed with something terminal, you know? And so you kind of have to, the first call after that gets announced, you're gonna have to talk about it. You can't just like power through.
You can't.
And then there's this really weird moment after you kind of connect and acknowledge and commiserate a little bit or acknowledge it. But then it's my job is actually to, there's an agenda for that meeting. And it feels kind of almost ridiculous to move into the mundanacity of goal setting and execution after we just talked about somebody who was precious to us is sick.
Mhm.
But and I think that kind of goes to the perspective that you were talking about. You didn't use the word perspective. I think you said divine redirection, and I think maybe there's another word, or the word that's coming to my mind is perspective. And so I think there's a healthy putting these business things in their proper place. They're important. They're the way that we make our living, and they're the way that we become who we are. They're kind of important in our life. But of course, people are a lot more important. And anyway, sometimes it just feels a little bizarre when the two realities are mashed together, and you have to kind of move back into business after contemplating something that's quite a bit more important. But
You said it very well, Scott. You said it very well. I always tell people about my personal journey, whether it's particularly in business, and is that there was that old adage: tough times don't last forever. Tough people do.
right.
Mhm.
So what would you say is the what is the redirection? Is it that perspective piece, or what did you mean when you said that redirection?
Um, I think you just got to reimagine what's going on in your life,
Mm,
personally and professionally. And that's what I've been doing uh, for a long time, particularly this year, with what's happening with the political climate in our country, with the challenges that so many of us small business owners are facing. Uh, I'm reimagining
mm,
what it my business development goals. We talked about goals earlier. So do I go after business the same way that I always have? No, you
mm,
can't. I'm even looking at some global opportunities now on my way to Africa
mm,
in the next 7 or 8 days for some business opportunities. Looking in places where you're on. So I have to kind of you have to step back. I'm that person that is always driven to success. So I'm always looking for the next contract, the next employee. But sometimes you got to just be still
mm.
and figure it out. And that is very important for you to do, at least for me. And that's how I do it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's an art, isn't it? The knowing, when you have obstacles, setbacks, challenges,
Right.
is this a situation where you just gotta blow through it? Like, this is something that you can tackle and stay with and persist? Or is this something, is this reality that you have to include, and the better thing to do is to go around or under, or, and I personally, that's always kind of a challenge for me to know exactly which kind of situation is this right now? Is this a blow through and take no for an answer, or is this a change? Change, Scott.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. You are so spot on with that.
I'm glad that you brought up the current pivot, the new goals, because that's what I was going to ask you about. Okay, so because we talked about 2008 and the change, and now we're in another inflection point, and so one of the feels like a really smart, obvious kind of, but courageous choice is to, yeah, well, let's go global then. If it's not working local, let's go global. Are there well,
Well,
how have you prospected globally?
let me put it like this. Remember, we've diversified.
Yeah.
So there's only 25% of our business that has been affected.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So, and that's the federal government business. We
Right.
have always been a federal government contractor, and the biggest contracts, the largest contracts we've had in the federal government have been with HHS, the CDC Foundation, Treasury, Justice. So we know that, and with the attack on DEI and minority business contractual opportunities within the federal government, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Mm,
So that part of the business, the other corporate nonprofits, that work is going. Okay. So I'm looking at that federal government work, and there's been times, and I've always been a federal government contractor. It doesn't matter who's in office. Uh, when you're a federal government contractor, you're a federal government contractor. When you provide them value, or any client value, you know that, and excellence in your work, customer service, all the things that happen. So, how do you prospect for some global business? It's building relationships. I build relationships with C-suite executives at major corporations, governments, nonprofits across the country. I've always been a supporter, advocate of small business, of women-owned businesses. I'm a sought-after speaker, an MC, and moderator And I continue to build those relationships. You know, I could say this, Scott. People tell you all the time, it's it's who you know. It's not just who you know. It's who knows you.
Mm.
It's about business, and business is about solving people's problems. And I always say too that the biggest challenge for any business today is tomorrow.
Mm.
20% of our customers are 80 of your customers are usually 80% of your revenues. We've known that. So it means I have to get out there, build relationships so I can close new deals. And I've been able to be put into, in the last couple of months, uh, some positions where I have where I could amplify my personal visibility as well as that of the business.
Is that
I'm
speaking
helping
opportunities or what kind of things are you doing?
we with in looking at that global business, I'm helping them understand the value add that our company can bring to them, helping them understand the strategic advantage that of our services, being intentional about the prospects that we're going after, being deliberate about that, what we're looking at. Um, I think all of those are very, very important characteristics and options that we have.
Yeah. Isn't that, yeah, that resonates with me. When things are, when you're rolling in prospects, you can kind of, well, you're rolling in prospects and things are
Mhm.
good, you know. But then when things are a little tighter, you get a little crisper, a little more,
Yeah, you
maybe not
do.
aggressive, and a little more initiative and persistent with prospects that you do have. I've
That's
seen that. I've seen that
exact.
with people I'm working with too.
That's exactly what we do. And then, and you continue to build these relationships and collaborate. Some of those services I have to offer as pro bono instead of fee based, but it puts me in the right room with the right people. And that's so important. You have to have a seat at the table
Mm.
if you want to be able to expand your horizons.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean your drive and your ability to be the rainmaker and closer is such a blessing to the organization, right? Like an organization really struggles if it doesn't have at least one person who wants to get out there. And so that's it's such a critical role.
And it's interesting you say that because I didn't know that in the beginning. What we do is in that first 18 years, because I came through as a journalist and we were doing major productions, I was always involved in the work. So you have to decide in business, as I'm sure you have done, what you want to do. So I was involved in the work a whole lot more in that first 18 years
Mm.
than I have been since 2008 in the last 17 years. I learned that all of those business development managers and marketing managers that I hired, I sat back and I looked at everything and I said, "Oh my goodness, nobody ever closed a deal. I was still closing deals then."
Yeah.
Okay, so when I made that pivot in 2008 to expand and to grow even more, um, I had to make a decision. Am I going to work in the business or am I going to work on the business?
Yeah. Yeah, I get nervous when I see uh founders try to delegate sales too soon. It's gonna be a tough go. It's a long time, pretty big before you're able to do that. Uh, yeah. Anyway, it's got to be cautious. It's a lot of times that's the most important job.
Well, it's all also about leadership. We
Mm.
got, it's about, it's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most.
Mm.
I think I've always seen that the greatest CEOs, they know that they need this trusted guide that can help them navigate some of these complex challenges we've been talking about. You need a trusted guide that can help make better decisions. And you have to lead with purpose. So I do believe that it comes back to leadership. You have to step back and take a look at that and reflect on your leadership strengths or shortcomings. I mean, as you are actively seeking opportunities so that you can improve over the next year.
Mhm.
And so leadership is very important and is a never-ending journey. And I also think like I did and went back to school, it's also about, for me, being a lifelong learner.
Mhm.
I had to learn everything about digital and social. That wasn't what we were taught in journalism school. This
Right.
is all new. How do I take this revolutionary digital economy that we're living in, and certainly transform that into my business?
Mhm.
So that
Bringing in all the riches that you had before. I mean, the
that's right.
knowledge riches, right? The
Right.
coloring it according to the thing and making a special sauce. Yeah, that makes.
Right. But you also have to have a top performing team
Mm.
when you're in business and have employees. And that team you as a leader have to bring that out in them so that they are doing the work, which leaves you with that opportunity to go and prospect the business. You have to make sure that's the only reason, those strategies for leading your team effectively are really, really important. And I also believe you have to give back. I think people don't realize that. I think mentoring the next generation is truly, truly important now because things are really moving fast and with technology. And you got to be able to hire smart business and then smart people and then tell them what to do. And then let them do it. You got to let them do it, and you can't be, because that's what a great leader is. You can't be the know-it-all. You just can't. You can't outshine everyone in the room. There's the time for that, but you must allow your employees to shine as well. You
Mm.
need to be that. I always feel that you need to be an inspirational leader, and have a little humility, and let people know that and hire people who are smarter than you. Then you could focus on what your job.
Yeah. I know time is flying here, but I do have one last
Oh, is it? Oh,
with
wow.
related to your what you were just saying. So you talked
Yes, sir.
about you have to lead the team well. You have to tell people what to do or train them what to do, and then let them do it. And I'm always very curious how the concrete mechanics of how you do that. Like, what does it look like in concrete terms with regards to your meeting cadence, your tooling, kind of like what is I call it strategy execution, or that's one way of phrasing. You have the work to do. You also have like the larger goals, the working on versus working in. But how do you help your team balance the in versus on work in concrete terms?
In concrete terms, in developing a performing team, find out how to bring the best out in your person. So that means that giving them the skills and to align with the rest of the team, making sure everybody's on the same page. What we do at SRB Communications is I'm only in that one big meeting a week, that staff meeting, and I join them and I let them lead that meeting. Bring to me and others on the team what we're working on, how we're going to get there, any pain points from client. Make sure everyone is on the same page and moving in the same direction from the beginning of the week. Then the team goes and they have their own um, pretty much daily quick meetings to just align themselves with the work and each other so that they can certainly handle the clients better because they can learn from each other. We provide professional development for all of our employees. That is so very important. All of the marketing, communications, conferences, I make sure that I allow them to attend, and we pay for those expenses and registration. And then they come back and bring it back to the rest of the team, and we have debriefs, maybe monthly, so that we can do the sharing. We have twice a year retreats.
Are you remote or do you have
no, we're hybrid. We're in the office. We have an office in downtown Washington.
I've heard of that. I've heard of it.
Yeah. But we have retreats twice a year that I may take them to my country club, and we'll do the retreat, and then we'll play a little golf, and then we'll have a little fun. Or the other retreat may be in the office where I bring some high level experts to talk about that certainly issue that they may be confronting, or looking at what's going on in the marketing advertising industry, so that, like AI and digital so that they are educated around those areas. That too is important. Those are the kinds of things that we do. We're hybrid. We're in the office. When we went back, we were out for 15 months, but when we went back in the office in June of 21, we went hybrid, 3-2. We're in the office 3 days a week, still remote 2 days a week. That fluctuates depending on if there's a major production or if there's travel or what that is. I'm pretty much in the office every day.
Yeah. And do you think the 3-2 hybrid is just as good as when you were in 5 days a week? Slightly better, slightly worse? What do you think?
I was never a fan of remote work. I've come around. I do not believe in the work that we do, that it can be 100% remote. And I'll tell you why. We work on major campaigns, as I spoke to you about. We're strategists. We have to work with the strategy and create the campaign ideation, and that means collaboration with the team, our creatives, our graphic designer, our writing. We have a writing team. A few retired journalists who are part-timers on that writing team, led by a full-timer. We have to make sure that we are collaborating on what that work is. So that is important and essential to the work that we produce for every client.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Dr. Sheila, thank you for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate your transparency and the stories, like the wealth of experiences. I think it's useful for people to hear if they haven't experienced, or just to remember if they have, that challenges come and go.
Yeah, they do.
And I like what you said. Tough times come and go, but tough people are around. That's not exactly how you said it. You said it better, but it's something like that. It's tough.
Yes.
You said, you finished.
Somebody else said it. That's why I said it's an old adage. Tough times don't last forever. Tough people do.
Good advice. We'll take it to heart. Thanks, Dr. Sheila.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great day.
Founders, if you're struggling to manage goals and execution with your team, HabitStack can help with that. I'm Scott Ward. Thank you for joining me on the HabitStack Podcast.